Morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Morning.
Been away for a while. It's great to see some of the new faces here. I signed up for this speech yesterday at 10 a.m., so I'm winging it a little bit. I've already spoken to you about not liking to see vacant slots, so, I'm rolling the dice and I don't care. I love it. Recently, I had hip surgery. On December 3rd, I had a complete hip replacement. So I was out for 5 weeks from work. It was a forced time off, which was a killer for me. I've been pushing hard my whole life at work, and all the vacations I've ever taken, albeit they were enjoyable, my mind was always a little bit on the job, a little bit on the stress and strain and the pressures. I've never been able to really let go on a vacation. But this 5 weeks was different because I was forced to relax. The doctors told me, my wife told me, everybody told me, you gotta calm down. If you don't calm down, you're not gonna heal properly. So I calmed down. And what was really great about this time off was I was able to weave in the day-to-day operation of the Lardino compound. I'd never really been able to do that. Even on days off, I'm doing this and that, just like we are. We're all really busy. Some of the things that I really enjoyed was I had some good bonding time with my sons. I have 3 boys, 20, 19, and 16. And you might imagine, there's a lot of drama that gets juggled around every day. But we were able to really have some good dialogue, shuck and jive with each other, wrestle. I got to work out with them, and it was a really nice time. Another thing I really enjoyed was watching my wife run the compound. You never really can grasp what a wife does in the course of a day, but I was like with her all day long. And it's no easy task, trust me. There's scheduling, there's cleaning, there's all kinds of crap that goes on. And I grew a greater respect for my wife. And one of our daily rituals, which was one of my favorites, was toward the early evening, we would sit on the couch and we'd watch TV. And we got into this show called Sons of Anarchy, and we blew through 5 seasons in 5 weeks. We got completely addicted to it. But moreover was the conversations we had were very relaxed. We could take our time and actually go deeper into things instead of being choppy and running through things. We're always tired and we're always wanting to rush through and get to the point. We're able to savor the content of our conversations. So it was a really good time for me. A lot of things happen in a 5-week period. And I'd like to tell you about a few of them, and some of the things I learned lessons, and some things were reminders of things I already knew. On a somber note, a childhood friend of mine posted on Facebook. He's been fighting cancer for a long time. And he said, today I went to the oncologist, and it appears that my roller coaster ride is coming to an end. And the last sentence he wrote in his post was, I'll miss you guys. So everybody wrote, keep fighting, do this, do that. And I posted on his wall a few of our childhood memories. And I told him that his life impacted me because he was always a fierce competitor. He pushed himself to the absolute limit. He pushed himself through pain. And that he lived his life like a warrior. And that's how he impacted my life. And I also told him that he was surrounded by love and that he was a success. And every time something like this happens to me, it's a reminder of something I already know. Life can change on a dime. Another interesting situation evolved in the 5 weeks. We have a neighbor couple. They're in their early 30s. They're having some really bad marital problems. They probably will not survive this. My wife has become good friends with the neighbor wife, and she's been over at her house a lot for counseling and fellowship. She has 2 little boys, which we babysit. So I've been privy to a lot of conversations. I've tried to help coach her, and I took it upon myself to have a conversation with her husband, who I don't really know him that well. And my whole purpose of having a conversation with him was to tell him just this one concept. When you get emotionally charged, you say hurtful things. And every time you say a hurtful thing to her, it does severe damage. She's really in a bad way right now. And if you could just take your emotion out of this and realize that whether she stays your wife or not, she's the primary caretaker of your 2 little boys. And every time you damage her, you damage or impair her ability to take care of your children. So if you could just take the emotion out of it and realize that the most important thing here are your boys. And I looked at him, and I might as well have been trying to teach him quantum mechanics or calculus. I mean, I don't believe anything I said had any impact on him at all. And the lesson I learned about that is, as much of a scholar as I take pride in myself of being a studier of life, it doesn't make me a good teacher. A good teacher can connect with anybody. So I need a lot of work on that. I also learned that if you get too close to the flame, you can get burnt. Without going into a long story about what happened after that conversation, all of a sudden, I had darts thrown at me, and I just told my wife, I'm done. I tried to be a good Samaritan. I know I can't save the world anymore. I can't even save one person at a time. I'm done. On a happier note, on Christmas Day, I had my Sicilian family over for dinner. And as you might imagine, Sicilians love to cook and they love to eat. And in my family, all the men think they're the best cooks. If you ask them, they'll say, I'm the best cook in the family. But I know better, because I am the best cook in the family. So here we are. I got a feast laid out, and we all sit down to eat dinner. And my cousin Carl, of all people, a restaurateur his whole life, this guy knows how to cook. He says out loud, how'd you make these meatballs? And my aunt, my 85-year-old aunt, who's made more meatballs than I'll ever dream of making, says, these are better than my meatballs. Vindication, people. Holy cow. There's 2 things that are important for Italians to say they're good cooks: sauce and meatballs. So I got the meatballs down. But seriously, the family get-togethers, the lessons there are things I already know. There's nothing like family. If you have family, you're extremely fortunate. I also could tell you, nothing brings people together better than good food and good drink. And that's why I'm so passionate about cooking. It's a no-brainer, right? You put some good food out, you bring people together, it's got to be a success. Oftentimes, through my history, I've said to myself, why do I have to host the events? We're always the ones that host the parties and the family get-togethers. Why doesn't somebody else do it? But here's how I resolve that. In every family, there's usually one party or one person who's the nucleus. And they take it upon themselves. And it's okay, because the payoff is huge. It keeps the family together. So I don't mind doing that anymore. Today's meeting is about optimism, lived or learned. I've spent my entire life thinking about this. And I can tell you this is my opinion. We're all born optimists. But then we become something else. And usually, it's not an optimist. Because as we get older, we start to focus only on ourselves, and we don't pay attention on what's going on around us. In other words, my friend with cancer, do I need to be diagnosed with cancer to understand how short life is? No. I can observe it and learn from it. I spent my entire 30s like a race car driver, pushing so hard on my job, grinding through the gears, redlining. I was going so fast, I missed some of the scenery. And now I've downshifted, and I'm paying attention. Optimism is learned. Ever hear the saying, you live and learn?
Yeah.
I believe you're fortunate if you live and learn. How many people know elderly people who are bitter, old people that hate everybody and everything? They're not living and learning. So to quote a scene from my favorite show, every day we wake up, we're given a box. You can make that box a gift or a coffin. Keep your life full and keep it real. Thank you, Toastmasters.